All right, welcome to Dynamic Friday number 3. Give me a moment to adjust all the settings to make sure that anybody and everybody has the ability to see what we're up to today. As you are aware, we are on Free Conference Call HD for the first 30 minutes as always. We are on StreamYard, where you have the opportunity to see and interact with us during the course of today's conversation. And we are live on Facebook. Finally checked to make sure that is correct. And for some reason or another, the settings always make it so that only I can see myself live, which wouldn't make any sense. So I have now adjusted the settings so it is public and available for their viewing pleasure online as well. So, good morning and welcome into Dynamic Friday number 3. As I said, I'm excited to be on with you today, both over the phone and on camera, and hopefully inspire you out the front door. Hopefully inspire you to pick up the phone or whatever your business model is and motivate you to push towards that goal just one day longer. That's it. Like you've got one day to make it happen. And many of you have written 3,000 in a day, 5,000 in a day. Heck, we had agents that have written 10,000 in a single day. So why not make that day today? We will also take a few minutes of your morning to educate you on some thoughts, some concepts, and some methods that will help you make more money. Plain and simple. There is a lot of fluff out there. There's a lot of jazz. There's a lot of talk. But the stuff that we're going to talk about today, things like the Everest Funeral Concierge, things that differentiate average to elite, things that actually happened in the field this week that you can learn from one person and take into another. Just a friendly reminder as well, as I'm sure you guys heard me a moment ago, we are working hard to improve this new Friday format and make it a part of our weekly routine. As you're aware, we're on Free Conference Call HD for the first 25 to 30 minutes of today's call. The entirety of Dynamic Friday is available for you to join us on StreamYard, where you could post a comment, ask a question, get on camera, whatever way you want to do it. We're available on both avenues for you on Fridays, for you to get more engaged, to ask more questions, to interact, and then to get out the door, get on the phone, and go make money. We're not going to spend all day talking. We're going to take a little bit of the morning and then go focus on ending the week on a profitable note. I'm going to ask a favor of you, though, as you get settled in this morning and you catch us live or you're listening to us right now, that link, that StreamYard link that you have in your email, the StreamYard link that you see in the group me, copy and send that off to somebody else. Maybe they don't get on today. Maybe they don't watch it next week. But maybe one day they see that link, they click on it, and they finally connect with something that changes the trajectory of their life. Conversations and relationships and recruiting isn't something that typically happens overnight, but it's something that happens from that constant drip of information. So take that StreamYard link for me this morning, either in the group me or in your email or in your text thread, and send it to somebody else. Invite them on, encourage them to be here, regardless of where they are on their insurance journey. Today, before we get into Adam's conversation and then our long form discussion, I wanted to talk to you about a concept or a conversation that sort of wraps up everything we've been talking about this week. We started this week talking about the biggest lessons learned, right? I had some thoughts to share. Dom shared some thoughts. It was a great conversation. Thursday, we tackled some of the biggest mistakes that agents have made over the course of their career. And many of you bravely stepped up and shared some thoughts yourself. I think we ask a lot of folks, and, that was one of those situations where some people would have been so uncomfortable to share that level of honesty, they would have just hung up the phone. But you guys openly and honestly and willingly shared some of the struggles that you faced and lessons that you learned because of it. So today I want to wrap up that kind of conversation by sharing the biggest wins, the biggest success moments in things that I've witnessed in agents over the course of the last 9 years in this business. And the fun part about these wins that I've witnessed, like all the things in business, is it didn't take any superhuman strength. It didn't take a spiritual gift. It didn't require good looks or a great voice. Just a great attitude, a consistent amount of effort, a massive level of activity, and the personal commitment necessary to never give up. Like that one's extremely important. Let's touch on that for a second. The personal commitment to never give up. The only way you quit in this business, the only way you fail, the only way you're fired is when you give up on yourself. And that's an important thing to remember in those situations. So I have to share with you this morning some successes, some wins, some things that I've witnessed over the last 9 years that I think deserve some notice. And if you take just one of them and implement them into your business, it'll do wonders for your continued growth. So, first one I have for you this morning may not be telesales friendly, but that's okay. I've got a few that would be. It's traveling outside your normal work area. This one's so incredibly important because this business can get boring. You're giving the exact same presentation every single time if you're doing it correctly. You're going to the exact same areas, going to the exact same convenience stores, stopping at the same Dunkin' Donuts, seeing the same people and the same smells. It can get incredibly boring. But traveling outside your normal work areas, working areas you've never worked before, can oftentimes be the biggest exercise in being uncomfortable. That's why it pushes you and makes you better so quickly, because it's that instantaneously uncomfortable. You don't have to get on a flight. You don't have to stay in a hotel. You can simply work a county over that you've never worked before. Get up an hour earlier and drive an hour further to an area you've never seen before. Change the scene, change the setting, and work an area you've never worked before. And guess what happens? That feeling of feeling stuck or stagnant instantly disappears. The success takes hold, and you write a winning story by just simply working somewhere you've never worked before. Next thing I have for you this morning, telling others what you do is some of the biggest success stories I've seen agents do. Now, this isn't like a multi-level marketing Primerica type thing, but it's the simple fact that the best way to grow, the best way to learn is to teach. The best way to stay focused and have a productive day in the field is to have somebody in the car with you. And telling others about what you do, taking them out and changing the trajectory of somebody else's life, I would bet that you on StreamYard, on Facebook, on Free Conference Call HD are in this industry because somebody else did the same thing for you. Very few people in this business find out about the insurance business, take the test, research an organization, and just start without some type of background influence taking place. You're here because a friend, a family member, or somebody you trusted, maybe even your parent, showed you the business and you took that ball and you ran with it. In fact, you're here with this agency probably because of something similar. So I would encourage you, as we talk about the biggest wins of people's careers, the biggest success stories, is to share your wins, share your successes. Heck, share your struggles too, and your dream of what you're looking to pursue and make happen could inspire somebody else to follow that exact same path. Next, on the list of the biggest wins and biggest successes that I've seen and witnessed in others is deciding that you're worth more than an hourly wage. This is a tough one for a lot of people I've talked to, especially in the recruiting funnel that we work. They're working for $20 an hour, $30 an hour. Maybe they get a bonus when they sell a policy. But the moment you decide either to burn the bridge and never look back, when you decide you're worth more than $20 or $30 an hour, when you realize that even just selling one application pays you more than you would have ever made at any job and builds your business and not theirs, is when you have that opportunity to get bigger success and growth in your career. The only way to win in your self-employment, small business, entrepreneurial journey is to have no plan B, is to not have another job, is to make this a lifestyle, not just a 9 to 5. I could list the names of agents that were so close to a breakthrough over the course of our time as an agency, but they gave up and went back to a job. They gave up and settled for an hourly wage. They gave up and decided that they were worth whatever somebody else told them they were worth, and they gave up. Don't give up on yourself when you're so close to breakthroughs. Next, let's talk a little bit more practical about some of the biggest wins and successes that I've seen in people that wrote 5,000 a week, 7,000 a week, 10,000 a week. Those type of weeks that I witnessed didn't come from people writing IULs over the phone. It didn't come from people that stumbled their way into massive, fully underwritten cases, those unicorns you see once a year. These didn't come from large final expense cases, but it came from massive activity. Even wilder, some of the biggest 10K weeks I've ever witnessed didn't come from people working fresh direct mail. It came from leads that were weeks or months or years old. The crazier thing about many of the 10K weeks that I willed into existence in my first 1 or 2 or 3 years in the business is they came from purely door knocking. Now, of course, we've made things a little bit more effective with additional appointment setting, but appointment setting can't be a crutch that you base your success or your failures off of. You can door knock your way to a 7, a 10, a $12,000 week. You can route your leads, knock the doors, give the presentations, and push from the start of the week all the way to the end and achieve those record levels of production that you're fully capable of doing. Here's another big success that I've witnessed and observed in others, and it's the senior center presentation. Now, of course, maybe you can't give those over the phone. I understand, but you can give them when you're face to face. You can turn that kitchen table presentation into the activity room. You can go from sitting with Miss Johnson on her couch to sitting in front of 15 people that live in that same building, and all of a sudden see people that would have never filled out a direct mail card, that would have never responded to a Facebook ad, that would have never been serviced or helped if you didn't step out of your comfort zone and embrace a new level of success. You know, I did it in my first year, and it's unfortunately something I lost the habit of doing. But I want to encourage people that are pursuing that early level of success that when you're in a senior building, when you've got that opportunity, that you set it up for the next week. Next, this works over the phone. This works in person. This works either way that you sell. The biggest success moments sometimes are not the biggest sales or the biggest weeks or the biggest months, but these micro moments in your career as well. It's your first add-on sale. It's the first time you sold a cancer policy, an accident policy, a Medicare Advantage plan, a Medicare supplement. It's an additional sale on top of what you're already good at. I could remember my very first add-on sale. I remember the moment I got my health license. I got set up with Aetna Senior Products on the health side. It's what we had most access to at the time. And the next opportunity I had, I was in the field and I was in an existing client's home. And I remember Mary Long in North Philadelphia. And she trusted me. She would have done whatever I ethically recommended. And when I recommended a $5,000 cancer plan for an extra $17 a month, it wasn't even a sale. It made sense to her. We got the application in, and guess what happened? You remember the story if you've been here long enough. That lady, Mary Long, ended up with cancer. That policy ended up paying a tangible cash benefit to her. And I hope that that story can extend to you and encourage you to find that first add-on sale and that micro success moment that you're fully capable of doing. Last one I have for you before we get into a breakdown on Adam's week, conversation about Everest, and some long-form conversation today, is the biggest success moments that I've witnessed in people is when they've committed to something that's bigger than they feel comfortable doing. That when they've committed to something that they know is uncomfortable, that they've committed to something that might require a credit card to get started. You know, if you were opening a business right now, a Chick-fil-A franchise, a fashion store, a coffee shop, a franchise of some other type, you know what you'd have to do? In many cases, start a small business loan. And in many cases, we're massively uncomfortable simply opening a small credit card to start on leads or to invest in the business or whatever it is. Committing to leads and appointments and investing past the point you think you're ready for can create some of the biggest success opportunities in your career. Maybe it's time for you to hire an admin to organize your book of business because you simply just don't have the time to do it. Committing past the point of being comfortable. Maybe it's time that you invested past the point you thought you had the money to do, but you won't reach that next level of financial growth without making this commitment. I can tell you something with full confidence. I can tell you something with full confidence right now. I would never be where I am right now with you on Facebook, with you on StreamYard, with you on Free Conference Call HD. I wouldn't be in this business, plain and simple, if I hadn't done it right from the very beginning. And I promise you, I wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for that. Now, it's not too late for you, and many of you have fixed and made that adjustment over the course of the last 4 to 5 months. But the biggest success, the biggest wins come from betting on yourself. And you know what the best thing about that bet is if you bet on yourself and you really believe in yourself and you're really taking that commitment seriously, that's a bet that you will never lose. Adam, hopefully you can hear me. Hopefully you can see me. Hopefully one of those points connected with somebody today as we talk about the biggest success, the biggest wins that somebody can embody and embrace in their final expense journey with us. I'm going to turn it over to you. I'm going to step off camera for a moment so I don't create too much background. And I'm excited to see what you have to share with us this morning.
Yeah, good morning, everybody. Yeah, having a few little technical difficulties this morning. You guys might not have, I'm sure you can't tell, but camera wasn't working, mic's not working on StreamYard, but it's working for our conference call. So at least for this portion of it, I'll talk through the mic. The rest of the time, I'll just use the AirPods. But anyways, yeah, my week, well, I set goals. I always kind of know what I want to do for the week. And I always try to write a minimum of 5,000 in premium for the week. That's kind of like the bare minimum that I really want to focus on. I want to do more than that, but I'm happy to write 5,000. And again, I'm only out in the field Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. So when I'm out in the field, I mean, I put the time in. I get up early, drop off my little boy at school at 8:30, and then I'm on my way to my first stop by 9 o'clock. So 9 o'clock in the morning, usually wind up the day about maybe 7:30, 8 o'clock. Sometimes I get home about 8. Sometimes I get home about 9 o'clock or so. But that's the thing. Like I said, I mean, I put the time in those 3 days. So then Monday and Friday is more of like my office days where I work on stuff around the office when it comes to building the agency, working with agents, catching up on different things, adding new appointment contracts, just all that fun, busy stuff. But anyways, this week, my Tuesday was full of appointments. I order leads every week. We have our great appointment setting team that they really put the time in to set us up with as many appointments as they can. And I think this week I think I purchased like 20 leads. I might even have more coming to me this week, but I think I had 20 direct mail. Every week I'm purchasing between 20 and 30 new direct mail leads. So right there, that is about, I would say, a minimum of about an $800 investment every week. So right there, I mean, $800. I mean, heck, if I write one app for the week or something, I mean, I'm just breaking even. So I got to think bigger. I got to write a lot more than that. And just everything else. I mean, heck, I got a family of 6, including myself. I got 3 dogs. I got a turtle, and now we got a bird. Like all this stuff we don't need, but anyways, just added expense. Got a kid down in college, paying for tuition. I mean, heck, I work as much as I can. I mean, I got to make money. So my Tuesday full of appointments, and you just never really know how things will go. Sometimes you could have a whole day full of appointments and things go well. Other times, just not a whole lot. And Tuesday, I had a couple appointments in the morning. I think my 9 a.m. I'm looking at my calendar right now. It's not on there anymore. So I'm thinking my 9 a.m. I must have rescheduled to another day. I must have showed up and the person must not have been able to meet with me or something at that time because they're not even on my schedule anymore. So I had a 10 a.m. appointment. Oh yeah, okay. I remember now. Yeah, I did reschedule. I did talk to the guy at the 9 a.m. I think next week I'm going back. Just one that I was not able to close up right then and there, unfortunately. And then my 10 o'clock appointment, husband and wife, they already had a bunch of coverage. They were like in their 80s and they just couldn't really afford anything else. So didn't really get anything there. And then the next appointment, and I ended up writing a piece of business. This was my 11 o'clock. I tried writing one carrier. It went to like a graded. I didn't feel like the person was like in horrible health. She mentioned she had a few issues, but it didn't seem like anything that would push her to like a modified with a carrier or like a graded, but it did. So anyways, I ended up writing her a different carrier, and it went through, and she was approved the standard tobacco rate, which is first day coverage. The rate's a little bit higher, of course, for tobacco, but not a bad sale. Wasn't able to get her as much coverage as she would have liked. She wanted at least 10,000. I think I wrote her 8,000 because at her age, 8,000 was like $80 a month, and she just couldn't really afford more than that. But one thing, she had no insurance, and these days, that's almost like a rarity. Like majority of the people I sit down with, it always seems like they have some sort of coverage already, and then that's where I have to kind of use my head and figure out ways to make this also make sense to the person. Also, always figuring out ways to make this different than what they already have, even if it's the same. Kind of hard to explain, but we'll be getting into that on the long form portion of the training today, kind of talking about doing a little bit extra. So, anyways, I ended up writing that one. The rest of the day was a bit of a wash. I had a noon appointment. The lady, she was not fluent with English. I need to go back to meet up with her when one of her kids is around that is better with English. It just wasn't ever going to be able to get anywhere with her. So I moved on to the next, which worked out okay that I was only there for maybe 3 or 4 minutes talking to her on the front porch because I was already running behind after that appointment where the first carrier would not take the person first day. I had to switch gears and use another carrier, and that just ended up being a little bit time consuming. I was probably there for at least an hour and a half. So that put my schedule behind a little bit because I set my appointments up on the hour. So, I mean, 9, 10, 11, 12, all the way through. Last appointment's usually at 6 o'clock at night. So then I had a 1 o'clock appointment that I showed up at, and that was a no-show. Nobody was there. Moved on to the next. Like I said, the rest of the day was just pretty much a wash. I talked to maybe one other guy later on at night that same thing, just couldn't get anywhere with. We have days like that. Fortunately, I was at least able to write that one. As I've said in the past, I can't stand showing up and not doing anything or having a day where I just don't write any business. I don't want my day to I don't want my day to feel like a failure. And to me, if I'm out there for 10, 11, 12 hours sometimes, I just can't stand it. If I come home without a sale, my wife can't stand it either because I'm not in a very good mood when I get home. If I came home with nothing. So anyways, I was at least happy that I at least wrote the 980 in premium. And then my Tuesday, I didn't have a whole lot of appointments set. I did some door knocking. I actually, first thing in the morning, I had to get my oil changed. So my 9 a.m. appointment was an oil change. And then one of my clients called me like a week or two ago. And this guy has had insurance with me for probably, I bet, 10 years. I bet he's got at least 5 or 6 policies with me. He's a really good guy. I mean, this guy, he cares about his family. He doesn't have a whole lot of money in savings, but he's putting money into these insurance policies that are going to help his family out when he's no longer here. Outside of just covering his funeral expenses, I mean, he's just wanting to take care of them. So yeah, he's got a number of policies with me, and he called me about a week and a half ago, and he said, Adam, I want some of your business cards. I want some of your business cards because I got some other friends that need insurance. And he said, so why don't you send me some business cards? And I said, how about I just come by? I'll pick you up. I'll take you out to lunch. And he was like, hey, that'd be awesome. So, I mean, this guy, like I said, he's had coverage with me for like 10 years. I mean, I appreciate his business, and he's a good guy. I figured, hey, what the heck? Let's sit down and have some lunch together. So I took him out to lunch. So that took a little bit of time too. I mean, I was with him for a couple hours, and I usually don't even eat lunch during the day. So, taking him out to lunch, and then I'm tired like the rest of the day because I just don't even. I'm usually nonstop. I don't eat during the day. If anything, I'll eat when I get home, when I'm done for the day. But then from there, same thing. Had a few appointments. I talked to people a little bit now about Medicare because I am getting into it. The open enrollment season is starting in October. Talked to another guy later in the day that I couldn't really get anywhere with yet with the final expense, but he is paying like $400 a month for a plan F, his Medicare supplement, and he's like, man, this is just breaking me. And I talked to him a little bit about Medicare, and I told him I'd get back to him in a few weeks. And I figured, heck, if I could end up writing him even like an Advantage plan that would make sense to him, that would open up some money that he's paying $400 a month on his Medicare supplement, that I'll be able to then write the life insurance that he needs. Because right now he's like 83 years old. He can't handle a high premium, but heck, if I could save the guy $400, that's going to open up some money there. So yeah, so those are like little things I'm just kind of prospecting, I guess, taking notes for. And then from there, I had another appointment that was in the books for 5 o'clock. That was actually set that day, and I showed up, and like the lady, she wouldn't even let me in the house. She was like, "Oh, I had no idea that's what this was about. They didn't really explain it well over the phone, and I just don't have time. You just need to get out of here. Like, I just don't have time for you today." I was just like, whatever, that's just kind of how my day is going. So my whole day Wednesday was like nothing. But then I got to thinking about it, and there was a guy last month that I tried writing with a company, and something had happened with like, I don't think it was like his bank account. I almost feel like their e-app was messed up or something at the time. And I couldn't get the business written that day. Like, I would plug in the bank account and like the thing just like froze. I just couldn't get anywhere with it. Tried calling the guy a few times throughout the month, and just, he wasn't answering. And I knew he got paid on the third Wednesday of the month. So I figured, heck, you know what? The way my day is going, I'm going to go stop by that guy's house and see if I can make that one sale so I can go home in a better mood. And I was in the area that that this guy was located in anyways. So I dropped in on him, and he even said, "Hey, Adam," he said, "Man, I'm glad you're here. I know we never got that insurance done." And he said, "Yeah, I still want it. So come on in, let's get it done." I said, "Good." I said, "I remembered you got paid on the third Wednesday, which is today. So figured you'd have the money." He said, "Yeah, it's perfect. The money's there now. Let's get this thing started." So anyways, I ended up with my one sale on Wednesday. So like I said, that's minimal. Like, my goal is to write like at least 2,000 in premium every day. So yeah, my first 2 days were a bit of a struggle. Wrote a couple apps, and then yesterday, I don't know what it is. I think when it's like crunch time, when I know it's my last day out in the field for the week, and I'm nowhere near the goal I want to hit, I really I don't know, I just have like that laser focus, even more than the other 2 days. Because like I said, I'm usually like pretty nonstop as it is. But I'm going to do whatever I can to find some sales in that last day of the week. So yeah, first one, I was door knocking some leads. I didn't have much of anything set yesterday when it came to appointments. I had like one appointment later in the day, but outside of that, it was pretty much just door knocking. So I had one that was an app that I wrote last month that went to a modified with a carrier, that kind of like the same thing as similar to Wednesday, where I just wasn't able to get the person in touch with the person. I door knocked her, was able to get in, and I got her approved first day coverage with Baltimore Life. So she was happy. Again, these are situations. It's like the people, they want the coverage. Sometimes things happen where maybe it just didn't work out on the first attempt, but their situation hasn't changed. So I went back and I got it resolved. Like I said last week, I kind of had the same thing, like leaving money on the table. Why would I just want to like never go back and do something with that business when I knew they wanted it? And that's money to be made. And heck, I'm helping people out with something that they need. So I ended up writing that one, $790 in premium. And then the next one, same thing. I was kind of door knocking. I was in an area where a lady that I wrote a policy with a few months ago had lapsed. She actually called me earlier in the week, and I called her back like the same day. And then she was like, "Oh, hey, Adam, sorry, I don't have time right now. Let me call you back." And she never called me back after she had called me. I figured I'll just drop in on her. So I dropped in on her yesterday afternoon. And same thing. I mean, she had some health issues, but was able to get her approved first day with Baltimore Life. And that one was close to $1,200 in premium. So right there, I mean, I wrote more just in those two applications that I did my first 2 days out in the field. my last sale of the day was one that was a set appointment. So I finally got something off of the appointments for the week. Uh, it was a set appointment. The lady already had coverage. She wasn't really super interested in more coverage. And that's when I brought up what we're going to talk about in a few minutes. I brought up like the Everest funeral concierge service. And I mentioned to her the way I always bring it up. She already mentioned to me early on in the conversation that her daughter is the one who just kind of helps with things, and that and she would be the one handling things for her. She's like her beneficiary on her other policy. So I asked her. I always ask in that situation. I say, okay, so has your daughter ever had to plan a funeral? And she said, no, she's never had to plan a funeral. And I said, well, what do you do? What do you think that day is going to look like for her when you pass away? And then, so right there, I'm like painting that picture. She's then thinking about it. And she's thinking about just how tough it's probably going to be on her daughter, because she told me about how her parents had passed away and she had to plan her parents' funeral and how difficult it was. So I just kind of feeded off that a little bit. And I went over the Everest, and she was all about it. She was like, man, that is, my one of my relatives, they had pre-planned their funeral. It made things so much easier. And I said, so that's what this is. Rather than doing it through the funeral home that could maybe go bankrupt someday and no longer be there, you can do this straight through us, through the insurance company, with this added concierge service. And if the funeral home's not there anymore, that doesn't matter. You can use this at any funeral home that you like. So went through, put a quote together with Everest, and she was just kind of heeing and hawing around, like, oh, I just don't know. I got to think about it, blah, blah, blah. I ended up quoting her SBLI then, because it was a little bit cheaper. She already had a $20,000 policy. So I quoted her SBLI. It was a little bit cheaper. And same thing. She was just kind of like, all right, well, it sounds good. I like it. I'll get back to you. And I told her, I said, well, I wish you could get back to me, but I'm only allowed one visit. And if we can't get it done today, well, I'm sorry, we're not going to be able to help you with this. And she said, really? You're not going to be able to come back and help me? And I said, well, no, I'm only allowed one visit. And to me, I'm being honest with her. I'm only allowing myself one visit. So that, to me, I'm not lying to her. I'm only allowing myself one visit, because the chances of writing business on a follow-up are slim to none. And I know that this one I probably would have never written. If I would have walked out that door, I probably would have never seen the lady ever again. But because I told her I'm only allowed one visit, we can't get it done today. Sorry, I'm not going to be able to help you. I was able to get it done. She moved forward with it, and she was happy that she made that decision to move forward. So, but yeah, I told her, and you know what? Heck, people think a lot of times these direct mail lead cards, like they think it's some sort of program through the state. I mean, I told her, I'm licensed with the state of Illinois, but so if anything, she thinks I have to report back to the state whether she decided she wanted to move forward with the plan or not. So, hey, whatever she wants to think. But like I said, I mean, it's just you got to do what you got to do sometimes to get the person to move forward, especially when they know they need it. And so that was really the end of my week. Yesterday really made up for the first 2 days. I think I ended up around 4,500 in premium after yesterday writing about 2,800 in premium. So like I said, I like to end up around $5,000, a little bit under for the week, but that's all right. Overall, I thought it was a pretty good week. So I'll add Chris back on now, and I think we'll be maybe switching over to our long form training here. Oh, looks like he had to get up for a minute here.
Alrighty. I don't know if you can hear me or if I need to log out of the StreamYard, Adam. Just let me know. I know I always have an issue with this transitional moment here.
All right, we'll be getting started here shortly. Chris just hopped off. I think he'll be hopping back on in a second. I'm going to add on the presentation. Just a small presentation. The majority of what we're talking about today is going to be more conversational, but I do have a small presentation just to kind of go over a few of the things that we're going to be talking about. So bear with me here 1 second, and then we'll go ahead and be getting started here. Like I said, I had a couple issues this morning with just some technical stuff, but I think we're good now. So
Absolutely. I took a bunch of notes. Hopefully you can hear me okay from what you were sharing.
I can hear you good, Chris.
A couple minutes. The fact that you said I'm only allowed one visit seems so simple. It seems so easy to brush over, but it seems so important because I've heard agents say all the time, well, I went to the door and they said, I got to come back. I'm busy. I'm only allowed one visit. Oh, I gave the whole presentation and she told me she needed to go over it with her son. I'm only allowed one visit. Like, I think if people would embrace just that one thing in the hour of content we share today, they're going to make more money. You are really only allowed one visit unless you want to treat this like you're is not important to you. The amount of time you have in a week, 45 hours in a week. If you spend 2 of those hours with one person, even if that one person buys $1,000 a month AP policy, you shorted yourself 2 people with one visit. So don't allow yourself to be back multiple times for the same person. That was so golden. That might be the biggest takeaway, but I'm confident we'll have other things to share with the viewing audience as well.
Yeah, the whole one, like I said, one visit. I mean, a few weeks ago, I was I don't know, I had maybe a half hour to kill, and I decided, you know what, I'm just gonna text all these people that told me they gotta think about it. People that I just couldn't get anywhere with. I'm gonna text all these people. Hey, I just following up. I was over, and I mean, I bet I texted. I had thousands of leads. I mean, I bet I texted maybe 30 people. I didn't get one person that replied back like, I'm ready to move forward. I mean, people, like I said, it's like if you don't write that piece of business while you're there, you got to almost treat it like you're never going to see that person ever again. And that was really, like I said, the one that I wrote yesterday. Like, I wanted to make another sale. I knew the person needed it. And I was just kind of sick of people putting stuff off like that. I don't use that as much as I need to, but now I'm going to pretty much all the time because what do you have to lose? What's the worst thing that can happen? They tell you to screw off.
I'd rather they tell me to screw off. Like, I need that level of finality in that moment to be able to move on to somebody else, because it's a one-call close. And if you sell it and they keep it, there's so many additional opportunities over the course of the rest of their life. But you as an agent, as a personal producer in a one-call close business, need the finality of being told yes or screw off. And that's really okay.
Well, look at it this way. If they tell you that they got to think about it, well, they're telling you to screw off anyways.
Yeah,
right?
It's very politely no.
Yeah, it's the same thing. So let's figure out a way to get them to move forward now, because we're never going to see that person ever again.
I remember the first time I had a whole list of that to myself, a follow-up list. I thought, let's write them down. Let's go and we'll follow up with these people. And then I asked my original mentor about this idea, and he said it was a waste of time, which I eventually learned that it was. And he said those people that are telling you these things are really just too nice to tell you to screw off. So anything less than yes really is go screw off.
Pretty much. So, like I said, that's why you just kind of have to get to that point. Like, when you're spending money on leads, you want to get as much out of them as you can. And the people need it. So it's just a matter of, like I said, figure out a way for it to make sense to them. Sometimes you got to figure out a way to push forward a little bit. And I'm confident that business is going to stick. Like, I knew she needed it. But sometimes that's just the whole, like I said, I don't know. Sometimes they're just hesitant to move forward. And I don't know why. I think majority of the time it's probably just about the money, fitting another bill into their budget. But heck, it's either you do it now or it's now or never. I
Very
mean, I
true.
even share stories with people about people, and these are true stories. I met with a lady about, I don't know, this was probably maybe a year ago, where we sat down, we talked about it. Same thing. I'm not ready yet. Give me a call in 2 weeks. And within those 2 weeks, her sister died. She was so upset, she ended up stroking out, like ends up in the hospital having a stroke. And then I couldn't do anything for her. So, I share that story with people. I tell them, look at like that actually happened. Like you just don't know what tomorrow is going to bring. We don't know. Our health changes. It doesn't get any cheaper than it is right now. And right now I know you can get it and you're covered with it immediately. So why take the risk of something happening to you tonight, tomorrow, next week, and then you're stuck with what you have, which maybe isn't even anything.
Yeah, people
So
don't appreciate on our side of the presentation how sick the people we present to are. Like they're not a healthy crowd of individuals, and we mean that in a loving and respectful sense. But their health changes all that quickly. I remember an agent that was trying to desperately get back on his feet was going back and trying to rewrite people because he had a better product and a lower price and a better option, and everyone that he ran into was sicker than the year before. Like that's what happens. And we have to speak that level of urgency to the people that don't understand that because they aren't giving presentations. They aren't living the life as an agent. Even the product availability. I mean, one of the biggest views we ever had was about how quickly this industry has been changing lately. The products you have in your bag right now may not be the products that are available to your client next week. The rates may be higher. The products may be stricter. They may be gone altogether. So what you have now really is the best opportunity for them to get what they need.
And you know what, Chris, right there. I mean, that sale, that was like $725 AP. That's covering my leads for the week.
Mm-hmm.
So right there, heck, I mean, that's where I'm making pretty good profit off the rest of the sales. Had I not made that, I would have made, quite a bit less money for the week. So, and I know today we are going to be talking about, I titled it, the difference between ordinary and extraordinary. I know you mentioned a few little things that you wanted to talk about as well that kind of tie into that, which is just some of the little stuff. Maybe some of the little things that we do that maybe make a bit of a difference. Whether that comes to different tools that we use when it comes to selling, when it comes to just different things. So yeah, I always think about this one movie. I don't know if you've ever seen it, Chris. Maybe not. The movie Waiting with Ryan Reynolds. Have you ever seen that? It's like they all work at like a restaurant. It's kind of like a raunchy comedy.
Well, the
But
last movie you told me to watch was Dogs Talking as People, and it was like
yeah,
the X-rated version of Homeward Bound. So now
uh-huh.
I'm afraid of your movie recommendations.
So this movie Waiting, they all work at a restaurant, and I worked at when I was like 16 years old. I bussed tables at Applebee's. I don't know if you have Applebee's out by you, but
I have it on my
I
resume.
oh yeah, you worked at Applebee's too? I
Tragically,
didn't know
yes.
that. Yeah. I was a bus boy, like a host at Applebee's when I was 16 years old. It was actually pretty good money, better than my friends that just were getting minimum wage other places because like the waiters had to share tips with us and stuff like that. But anyways, like I just remember I could relate to that movie Waiting just from working at the restaurant and like the manager, just how they take everything like so seriously, which is fine. But I just remember the one guy, I forget the actor's name, but I just remember in the movie, like he takes the whole group aside. They're like preparing to like start the work day and, talking about the shift and everything. And he's like, just remember the difference between ordinary and extraordinary is that little extra. So that's what I was thinking about when I titled our training for this morning. Just doing that little extra. The difference between what we do that kind of separates us from other agents that maybe are just doing enough to get by. The little extra. That could even be the appointment setting service that we use. I mean, that's a little extra. Yeah, we're investing a little bit more into our business by having that that luxury, but it's structuring our day. It's putting us in front of more people. It's allowing us the ability to make more sales. Like I said in the past, all I'd ever done was cold door knock, or not really cold door knock, well, door knock leads. But just having that structure, and even weeks, like I've said, there have been weeks where I haven't written a lot off the appointment setters. There have been weeks that, like this week, I think I wrote maybe one off of the appointment setting. But it's putting me in front of people faster. Leads that I'd probably still be trying to disposition with a yes or a no. They're out of the way now. People that maybe I couldn't do anything with, that they'd still be sitting in front of me. So but right there, that's one, I think, sort of doing a little bit of extra when it comes to just the little things in our business. What are some other things that you could think of, Chris?
I think to separate yourself from ordinary to extraordinary really doesn't require any special talent. It doesn't require any special skill. Like I say all the time, a spiritual gift, a good voice, a great body. It doesn't require any of that kind of stuff. Like, to take yourself from ordinary to extraordinary requires things like intentionality. Like, today is a day I'm going to sell and do nothing else for whoever's in the field today. That's going to take you from ordinary to extraordinary, because that's all that you're going to focus on. And you're going to focus on your phone, your text, your emails, the snail mail, your appointments, your door knocks, your book of business, your lapses. You're just in hot pursuit of premium the entire time. Like, that's what separates an ordinary sales day from an extraordinary one. Heck, even Friday itself. I remember an agent probably 2 years ago at this point that lasted maybe a few months. She said she went out on a Friday and actually made money and saw people and sold insurance and said to me, I didn't think you could make any money on a Friday. What separates ordinary personal producers from extraordinary personal producers that need every application to pay a bill, to get ahead, to grow their business and survive the first 2 years is the willingness to go out on a Friday, to knock doors on a Saturday, to start the week on a Monday. You earn the right as you build your business to do more in less time. But a lot of the messaging and training has to be focused on that crowd of people that really need to work so hard those first 2 years to make it to where we are. So ordinary to extraordinary, so many different things you could talk about. Not skipping on leads. Yeah, that's a tough one. If you're on a free lead program, you have a production number you have to hit. Otherwise, we can't pay for the leads. If you're your own personal producer, you have a production number you have to hit. And if you don't hit it, you're one problem away from falling behind in the business. So knowing you have to hit those numbers and making those numbers personal separates you from ordinary to extraordinary. Here's one for you, and then I'll give the mic back to you. Doing the right thing in the home, even if you know doing the right thing isn't going to make you any money. Like, you encounter a situation where the client has a policy and they've had it for, 5 years, and their health kind of sucks. And you might be able to push one through on a carrier might have super loose underwriting, and you might be able to save them $1 and get them $500 of cash value back and make yourself some money. It's not the right thing to do. Like, it just doesn't feel right. It doesn't look right. It doesn't improve their situation. It puts them back into contestability. And instead of doing that, you choose not to. That's an extraordinary action you've chosen to make, because you put the best interest of the person ahead of the premium. And I think people get so wrapped up in the AP and the premium and the deposit sometimes. We also have a moral and ethical responsibility, being a highly paid and skilled professional, not to F people over. Because a lot of the people that we see and a lot of people that we sell, they'll do whatever you tell them. Whatever you tell them to do, they're going to do. And it has to be up to you to do the right thing.
Yeah, I feel like every week I run into at least one person I talk to that has plenty of coverage, that I just tell them, like, don't let anybody come in here and talk you out of doing anything with that policy. There was one this week. I sat down with this guy at night. I didn't write a policy on the guy, but the guy, he had some pretty significant health issues. I think he had congestive heart failure. He had a few other things. He was obese. And I had a guaranteed issue product that I could have wrote the guy that actually the rates were pretty decent. And it was even cheaper than what he was currently paying. But the policy that he had for over 2 years. So like, why would I take a guy that's in that sort of health out of a policy where right now he's fully covered, just to benefit myself? And that's really what I think sometimes happens is agents, they're not looking out for their client, they're looking out for themselves, and they're looking to make that one sale. But because I'm like that with people, uh, usually it brings more business my way. If you do the right thing, that's what's going to happen. More good things are going to come back around to you. There's a good chance I'll end up doing Medicare business with this guy. Talk to him a little bit about that. There's a good chance I'll end up writing business on some of his other family members. Um, but like I said, I mean, I'm not going to pull somebody out of a policy, even if the person's in good health. I mean, they could tell you anything. Clients could tell you anything, honestly. If they're past the 2-year period, I'm usually not messing with it. I'm going to keep that business. And if anything, tell them, it's good to add to what you have, but I mean, you're guaranteed that policy is going to pay out for you. So I don't want to take someone from a guaranteed policy that I know is going to pay out to starting that 2-year window all over again, unless I'm extremely confident. But majority of the time, we just don't know.
If you're on the StreamYard right now, when you feel like there might be something that separates somebody in this business from ordinary to extraordinary, feel free to drop it in the comment section. If you're watching on some other medium of social media, we really do appreciate your comments. Your comments create engagement. It puts the algorithm in our favor. So maybe you're watching now, today, tomorrow, or in 10 years. Comment about what you think in this business separates ordinary from extraordinary. Dom put in the comment section, spending money on tools to make your business more efficient, i.e. insurance toolkits, CRM and such, which is absolutely the truth. You're running a business, and that's a huge realization moment that agents make typically right after they get out of that survival mode into the thrive moment of their career. They realize they're running a business, and to run a business means you have to invest in your business. And Adam, I don't know if you have it or where you live, but I notice all the time in a lot of the restaurants and small business, non-corporate type places, non-Applebee's locations, that they spend a lot of money reinvesting in their restaurants, especially during the off season. We have a good peak water and summer season here, but you come back the next time and that business owner had spent money redoing their decks, redoing the restaurant, redoing something, reinvesting in their business, trying to make it not an ordinary restaurant, but an extraordinary experience you want to come back to over and over again.
Yeah, I mean, and even in our business, I mean, we always need to be looking to improve, and doing what we can, not only to help people with the life insurance, but like I said, I mean, now today I'm going to finish adding or completing some contracting and some training for the Medicare side, because I mean, not only will that help me financially, building up a good renewal base, but I just always felt like, once I learn something, I'm pretty confident that I can put people in a good situation, maybe even a better situation than what they're currently in. And I've always been ethical, wanted to always like to do things the right way. Sometimes there's stuff out there that you run into where just you know how it is. You walk into a house and they pull out a policy and you're just like, why did the agent write this policy on this person? I don't think anybody's ever walked into a home and had to pull one of my policies out and do that. I mean, it's, everything's pretty cut and dry, but like I said, yeah, I mean, adding Medicare is expanding the business, improving the business, giving me more to be able to offer clients. So, you mentioned too, like just some of the little things, like you sent me a text last night, ways of improving like your presentation, even like you mentioned something about having like a copy of your license with you, like a picture of your family. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I think it's important, especially when you're brand new to the business, before you've given 100 presentations, before you have it so memorized you could drop it out of a hat, to have these kind of tools that separate you from an ordinary presentation to giving an extraordinary experience. And it's having a copy of your state license. It's super simple. You go and you print it out. Or if you're just using your iPad to present, you have it saved on your iPad and you show the person your state license and then create that level of tangible trust in showing it to them. You've literally just shown up at their house. They filled out a piece of junk mail. They clicked on an ad on Facebook, and now you're there. You need to take a moment and establish that real level of credibility by showing them your license. That's necessary. What I was always taught and what I always practice is show pictures of your family. Make you a real person, not just some salesman that's knocked their door and trying to sell them something like the last 6 people. It makes it real. It makes humor an opportunity. Like, crack a joke. Like, I think the joke I've been using lately is, I got a lot of mouths to feed, so I'm going to do right by you. Otherwise, they go hungry. They laugh. And if you can create levity in the presentation, you can create a sale. Maybe you don't have a family yet. That's okay. What's important to you? Your dog, your cat, a pig, your house, something makes you a real person you can put in your presentation binder and show them and say, hey, this is me. Maybe, I don't know, a niece, a nephew, somebody. Make yourself a real person in the presentation, and it separates you from all the other yahoos out there that aren't doing that. So I think that makes a significant difference. Just like in preparation, I think it's so important to be prepared before you hit the field and then focus on just selling. Like, preparation includes having your leads together, your appointments together, a plan B and C together, and then going out and selling. And if you're not prepared, no wonder you're not selling, because you're also probably disorganized, anxious, nervous, afraid. Preparation breeds confidence. So how do you go from ordinary to extraordinary? Is doing extra. Like, it's in the freaking word. How cool is that?
Exactly. And bringing up family. I mean, I always bring it up. There's different ways that I'll bring it up. It really just depends on the situation. Yesterday I was talking to a lady. We were talking about whole life versus term policies. We were talking about how she was like, I don't know, 68 years old. And I mentioned, this is funded with a whole life plan. This is like your forever plan. That's what I tell people. This is the one that's always going to be there. It's not one of those term plans that will expire before you do, is kind of what I say. And she said, yeah, I don't want anything like that. And I said, yeah. And sometimes we just kind of get to talking. And I told her, there's a place for term policies. I told her that, I'm 42. I have a family of wife, 4 kids. I said, if something happened to me, like, they need help. They're if I didn't leave them with anything, they'd be in trouble. We have, like I said, we have a mortgage. We got young kids that got to go through school. Like,
Turtle.
I need enough cup. Yeah. Now we got a parakeet. We got Jelly Bean the parakeet. So just all this stuff. So yeah, I mean, I wouldn't want, God forbid something ever happened to me. I wouldn't want my family to have to struggle because I'm no longer here. And that's where, like I told her, I said, so right now, I mean, I have years until my home is paid off. My kids are young. They're still going to have to go through school. There's a bigger need there. I need a large amount of coverage. But in 30 years, I'm not going to need that much coverage. So that's where the term makes sense for me, because they don't need all that down the road. But right now, it makes sense. So, but then from there, we just kind of start to talk about that stuff. My wife and the kids, and just kind of all the stuff they're involved in, and people love that stuff. They love to see when they're sitting down with somebody that's involved with their family. They just do. I mean, I think it maybe even shows that you are a caring person. There's many people I've dealt with in business, people that I've sat down with, clients that have come from other backgrounds where they haven't had that sort of family life. So they like seeing that. They love seeing when there's someone like myself that really does care about their family, and I'm willing to show them and talk about it.
And what you're doing there is making an extraordinary presentation, because you're creating a human connection. People want to connect with people. Everyone wants to buy, but nobody wants to be sold. Everybody wants to create a connection with somebody. And when they do, the sale is a natural result from that relationship. It's not that you've convinced somebody that their family is important to them. You can't. You just can't. It's not that you've convinced somebody who's 72 years old that now is the day they're going to get insurance. You're not. You've created a human connection. You've recognized a problem. You've shown them a solution. They seem to trust and believe that you know what you're talking about and you're going to fix that problem for them. And then you do. I think we oftentimes struggle in sales when we misunderstand that we're not convincing them of something. We're simply leading them to the conclusion that they just haven't got to yet.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure. So another thing, Chris, we talked about, and I talk about it a lot, a way to kind of how I always try to figure out a way for this to make sense to the person I'm sitting with, regardless if they already have insurance, regardless of if they already have enough insurance. I'm always going to figure out a way for this to also make sense to them. And that's when I pull out different tools that I have that add that value. And I wanted to maybe talk a few minutes. I could even pull up a few slides to talk about like the Everest. That's something that to me, that has kind of taken me from that ordinary to more of an extraordinary level because again, not only is it helping me make sales, but it's a great benefit. It's something that's adding a ton of value to not only the insurance that they're taking out with me, but even to the policies that they already have. And the one I wrote yesterday, like I mentioned, I ended up writing her SBLI. Now, SBLI, they don't have Everest, but they also, which is very similar to Everest. I don't really know a whole lot about the difference, but when I was talking to the lady, I could tell how important like her daughter was to her, and how I mentioned earlier how I knew that this would be something that would help her daughter when the time came. I also remembered that on that Sequoia plan, you can add up to 9 family members on that plan. Regardless if they have an insurance policy, that Sequoia would still step in and help the family and negotiate. And that was, I think, another thing that kind of sold it to her, that not only could she fill out and take care of her own funeral planning, but with that Sequoia plan, she could sit down with her daughter, and her daughter could even put a plan together for herself. And that's going to lead to another sale. Her daughter wasn't there when I was there, but her daughter needs coverage too. So I'll end up going back and writing her a policy. It won't be with SBLI because she's too young, but she can still be a part of that Sequoia deal that's going to help and benefit her family. So, but yeah, I'm going to add on real quick just a couple slides I put together to talk that just kind of breaks down the Everest plan. The Everest plan now is available with not only the American Amicable Platinum product, Chris, that we've been using for quite some time now, but it also is available on the brand new product that we talked about last week when you did such a great interview with the national sales director or national sales manager with Transamerica.
Yeah.
The new FE Express product. Same thing, has the Everest incorporated in with it. So usually when I did my presentations talking about the Everest, I was always just talking about the American Amicable, but now the Everest is also in on the Transamerica deal. And that's one too, where, maybe you lead with American Amicable, but maybe there's just a few health issues that, that it's probably going to go to like a graded or like a return of premium. There's a possibility that new Transamerica FE Express product might still be able to get that person first day coverage, and the person wouldn't have to lose the luxury of having that Everest incorporated in with it. So, so that's, like I said, it's just a nice benefit. It kind of separates what we're doing. And, that's one thing. I'll move to the slides real quick, but, that's another thing, Chris. I've been selling value products for 21 years. When I first got going with Final Expense, I was with Lincoln Heritage. They had the FCGS, the Funeral Consumer Guardian Society. That's what it is. It was an overpriced product, but it had that value. And I had not on average, 85, 90% persistency. Mm-hmm. So I'm selling a product that's easily replaceable, but it was not easily replaceable with my clients because I sold that. If there were agents there that didn't go over that stuff, if they just simply talked about the insurance, well, they're setting themselves up for that business to be replaced. But even the American Amicable and the Transamerica, those products, they're higher priced. There's more value in those. But yeah, I mean, look up the rates. I mean, the rates are higher. But I'm selling that value, and the clients are all about it.
Yeah.
They're not thinking about how they got to pay a few extra dollars every month if their family is going to save $3,000 or $4,000 off their funeral bill. So,
And I think
yeah.
I think what happens is that when you've created enough value in whatever you've sold them, that the person now feels like this problem is solved in their life. And as much as sometimes people will continue to fill out leads, in many cases that business wasn't replaced because those people no longer filled out leads. They no longer filled out Facebook ads. They no longer were in the market for insurance at all. They feel like they had what they needed and they were good. And I think when value exceeds price, when you've established enough value to lock in that client and that business stays on the books, then that's why it sticks. I mean, independent agents are so afraid that if they aren't selling the lowest premium, that the next Yahoo in the house is going to replace them. Guess what? It's highly unlikely. And it's very unlikely if you sold enough value in what you've sold that price is even all that important. Of course, there are situations where you got to beat the rate, where you have to come in with a price-effective product. We get that. Sold plenty of KSKJ back in the day. Plenty of old school Transamerica immediate solutions. I get it. But I also wrote enough Americo that stuck just as good. I wrote plenty of Gerber that was still on the books because that was all they could qualify for. Value is what keeps stuff on the books. True Social Security billing helps. Good agents that service their business helps. But the lowest price on earth, hey, the next snake in the door can replace it, but is value what keeps that person out of their house.
Well, and this Everest and Sequoia, like I said, even the FCGS in the past. I mean, it would give people that mindset that this isn't just another insurance policy. Like this is for that purpose. This is their funeral plan. And you explain it that way, and you show the people how this is very unique. Like this isn't something that's just all over the place. This is unique. And it's something that's going to make a big difference in your family's life and make their lives a lot easier when that time comes. And like I said, just adding that value. The one yesterday, this lady, she had 20,000 in coverage. She didn't need more coverage, honestly. I wrote her another 12,000 because she saw the value in the funeral planning that, like she said, one of her relatives in the past, they had pre-planned their funeral and just made things a lot easier. So she remembered that, and she knew that, heck, if I move forward with this, it's going to make my family's life a lot easier when I pass away.
Well said.
So yeah, let's real quick. Why do agents sell based on lowest price available? Well, it's a competitive market. They have that fear of getting their business replaced, and we deal with a target market that is middle to low income. We're dealing with people living on Social Security. They don't have a whole lot of money. So maybe that's where, when they're selling on the lowest price, they're just trying to find them the most amount of coverage at the cheapest price. And that's fine. But when the next new product comes out where the rate is just a little bit cheaper, well, then that's all you sold that person on was a cheap rate. And that's, why do I sell based on value? It separates me from the competition. What it makes what I am selling unique and different than anything else out there. This just talks about the Everest. They're a independent consumer advocate group. Everest is available to more than 25 million individuals across the United States and Canada. Everest 24/7 advisors provide peace of mind and confidence when making difficult funeral-related decisions. Plus, Everest advisors who are licensed funeral home directors will work with American Amicable, also Transamerica, to help expedite the payout of the life insurance. So this is like a picture of like a video that I don't know. I can never figure out how to get videos to work on here, but it was it's like a little commercial that just kind of talks about Everest. This guy, he basically And
He's
yeah,
dead.
in the commercial, he's dead. Basically, he's like, "Hi,
Poor
I'm
guy.
John. I'm dead."
Oh, poor
And
guy.
he's like, "But that's okay because I had Everest." And where other people have to, walk into funeral homes in that morbid time and walk in and pick out caskets, dealing with people like used car salesmen trying to sell them stuff when they're grieving. My family didn't have to worry about that because I had Everest. That's
John was a
basically
little
what the guys.
John's young though. Like I see that video and it's on YouTube. You guys can look it
Yeah,
up. It reminds me of like 6 Feet Under, which is a great TV show. Has nothing to do with Applebee's, but it's worth a watch if you're ever homesick, not sure what to do. But like John's young. Like John, why are you dead? But bro, appreciate you planning purchasing policy probably from Adam, getting Everest and the value that it provides, but pretty young to be dead.
yeah. Well, that's what that's the thing. I don't mind the fact that they used a young guy in the commercial because it shows people that you don't have to be old to die. Things happen, people, car accidents, anything. I mean, and it just shows that this is important for everybody to have, not just someone who's 65 years old or older. I mean, this is something that even young people need.
Mhm.
So that's, it doesn't bother me if they use a young person, but at least, yeah, he just talks about at least he had put everything together and within 48 hours, the family received that money. And that's what, it talks about here how, they have the 24/7 assistance where, I mean, person passes away in the middle of the night, they can call into Everest and Everest will kind of start putting things into action. The way I explain this to the client is that you put your whole funeral plan together ahead of time, that when the time comes, all your family has to do is make that one phone call. And the next thing they have to do is show up at the funeral because Everest took care of the rest for them. So where other families have to walk into the funeral homes and make those tough decisions, and it's tough, and many times they end up spending a lot more than what they need to. Not that funeral homes are overcharging, but I feel like they add stuff. It's kind of like when you buy a car and, would you like to add this package to it? Would you like to add that? That's what at the funeral home they're doing when people are grieving. I had a client once tell me that they had a family member that passed away, and the funeral home asked if they wanted a picture of the Last Supper in the casket. And they said, "Oh, sure." Charge them like $800 for like this picture.
Yeah.
Like little things like that that just aren't necessary. That
Yeah.
that maybe it was really nice. Maybe it was worth $800. Maybe it was like some sort of painting or something. I don't know.
There's a
But
lot of add-ons.
it,
Like
yeah,
it just if you don't when the emotion is high, there's a lot of add-ons to it. You'll be at our wedding, not our wedding, but me and my fiance's wedding in about 5 weekends. We have a live painter. It sounds like an awesome thing, but it's an expensive add-on. And I could imagine having a painting of the Last Supper put in a coffin could be expensive, but having a plan in place that says this is what you want, this is how you want it done, and here's how it's going to get paid allows some of that money to go back to the family instead of the funeral home. And the funeral home is a business too, and they have money to make, and they know they're only going to have so many funerals a year on average. So having a plan allows the family to keep some of the money too. But I like the way that you put it. Everest allows you just to have to show up at the funeral. You've done all the work ahead of time. And it's those little catchphrases and power questions that helps people add these value added propositions to the product.
well, yeah. Like I say, I always ask the person, who's going to handle their funeral and if they've ever had to plan a funeral and what they think that day is going to look like. So, and then right away, it's like they start thinking about it, and then this makes total sense to them. I explain how they, again, all the online planning tools, they can put it all together. I mentioned to them how Everest not only will call the funeral home that the family wants to use, but they'll reach out to other funeral homes to get comparable pricing. And that's what they use to negotiate those prices. So it's adding value to your policy because you're saving your family's going to be saving money too. That's just that much more money that's going to go back to your family to help them take care of other things. Even mention how there's a free will. They'll help the person put a will together. Even other important legal documents. Most clients I sit down with, they don't have a will. They don't have the money to go to a lawyer to pay for putting a will together. Everest will do it for free. It's part of the program. They'll help them put a will together. Heck, if they want to go down to the bank and get it notarized, they could do that. Even if they ever needed like power of attorney papers, other things like that drawn up, that's also part of it. So I'm telling you, boy, people that are not marketing this sort of thing as part of their their way of selling insurance, their way of selling final expense, they're really missing out
Mhm.
because, like I said, I mean, I bet every week there's at least one sale I make that I would have not had made had I not had something like this in my back pocket.
And you know what? It's separating ordinary to extraordinary. That's another example of it right here. It's understanding that yeah, sometimes you can sell on price. Sometimes you can come in and beat the rate and just get it done the old school way. But sometimes you actually have to be a salesperson, ethically speaking, and utilize these value added propositions to make additional opportunities. The very first time we ever had access to a product with Sequoia, Adam, I made sales, improved people's situations simply based off of that. Like they got $2,500 face amount policies, $30 a month add-on opportunities, but they saw the value in the Sequoia or the Everest, not necessarily anything else.
Yeah, exactly. Like I said, I mean, just like I said, that one yesterday, prime example. I mean, would not have written a business. They saw the value in that, and she knew that it would make things easier. And these are just simple steps. I mean, the person, I always tell my clients too, when you receive this stuff with your policy, do something with it. Like
Dude,
you're not going to get anything out of it if it just sits in the folder. So do something with it. You know, get on the phone, call these people, get everything set up. They'll walk you through the process. They'll help you set it up. But it's not going to do much for your family if you don't do your part ahead of time. So get on the phone, and they again, the steps here are really easy. They call into Everest, they discuss what they'd like done. Everest puts a plan together. They review the prices with them of what they feel it will cost. They make all those final arrangements. When the time comes, the family, they just make that one phone call and it's all put in place for them. So it's simple, it's easy, but it's just something that really does add a lot of value. So, and I know, Chris, I know we talked about, and I'm sure that we could probably even have on, like, I know the guy who like does a lot, or maybe is the owner of Sequoia or whatever. We could probably even have him on a podcast sometime. I know I've messaged him a few times, but now Everest, like I said, I know Everest is American Amicable. Transamerica has the product with it. And then Sequoia is what? SBLI, isn't GTL? Didn't you mention GTL is also one that is that Sequoia?
Yeah, yep. So you can get updated GTL brochures, or if you're doing it over the phone, the digital ones that have all the Sequoia information in there. And what an amazing value added proposition to a graded product. Like you get stuck thinking, well, how am I going to explain to them a 2-year wait? Well, you're explaining it to it wrong that way. But now you can explain everything that it comes with, and that won't even be an issue. So Sequoia is on GTL, it's on SBLI. Everest is on Transamerica Express. It's on American Amicable Platinum. If you don't have access to these type of products, reach out to us. Like we're on every method of social media there is. If you're having issues making value-based sales, reach out to us. If you think you only needed one product to write your business, but now you're seeing you can do the same thing with multiple products, reach out to us. I mean, there are so many things that we can add as a value-added proposition to you. We're happy to help. If you need structure to your business, I was talking to an agent this week and he said he appreciates the morning call because it provides structure. I mean, structure is what helps people get out of bed, get on the phone, or get into the field. If you need help in your business because you don't have leads and you can't afford leads, but you're willing to work, we have a free lead program. If you're willing to pay for your leads and you're used to purchasing your leads, but you have a BS level low contract, we've got great contract levels. Like there's value added propositions in what we sell, but there's also a ton of value added propositions in what we offer as an agency. I figured that was appropriate to mention toward the end.
Yeah, most definitely. I mean, I've always said, that I think one thing a lot of people out there, the biggest thing that they need is just some help and support from people that know the business. And I think we've proven through our track records, both of us, that we know what the heck we're doing when it comes to selling, when it comes to all of this stuff, all the content that we share with everybody, all the different experiences that we've been through in the business. And I think everything that we do is just things that can really help agents and those that are working with us, that are part of that are on that call every day. It does make a difference. I mean, even the morning call, I mean, it's, yeah, it's made a bit of a difference even with me. Kind of keeps me on track, and that we also have our group me. That's another thing. I mean, heck, if my phone's going off all day and I see all these other people making sales and I haven't, like that ticks me up. I'm happy for them, but it ticks me off too. Cause
Yeah.
I mean, I want to be the best, I want to be the best at, everything I'm doing, whether that's personal producing or building an agency. And I think we're on the right track here to build one of the biggest and best agencies that is out there, because we do the right things and we're there to look out for our people, and we want to see everybody have that long-term success. We don't want people to just get in the business, do well for a couple months, and then they're struggling and trying to figure things out. I mean, we're there, from beginning to end. We're not going anywhere. We're here to see too that people have that long-term success.
I'm going to wrap up with a comment.
Yeah.
That one of your agents said to me this week that I think would be the perfect value added wrap up to what I have to say today. The agent said, I have to say, since joining here, my life distribution sales has grown in a short time, always writing life, but more of an afterthought from the annuity or the long-term care perspective. Completely different mindset. Some days we all ride the struggle bus. I agree. My one day in the field this week was not much fun, but it gets easier to get back into gear and to move forward with the things that we kind of offer here. Thank you for the help that you and Adam have given me. So that's just genuine comments from people that work with us, that plug in, that literally dial in, that put their card on file, that buy the leads, that work the leads, that just really embrace what we have to offer.
Sounds good. So yeah, I hope y'all have a great weekend, and check out the morning call. Those of you that are on watching right now, check out the morning call. If you need that information, reach out to us, put a comment, and either on the YouTube or even when this is out there on the podcast in the audio format, put some comments out there. We can shoot you over the information even to get you on those calls. And I think you'll see it makes a difference when you are involved. We're not micromanaging this thing or anything like that. I think it's just a matter of, kind of putting people together and showing people what it takes to succeed, and everybody kind of holding each other accountable to see to it that we all hit our goals and we all have a lot of success together. So thanks again. Like I said, I hope y'all have a great weekend. We'll see you on Monday.
Take care.